Welcome to this session on action planning for supervisees and supervisors. In this cool toolkit, we'll be exploring practical strategies to tailor action planning according to supervisees' developmental stage. Whether you're a supervisor supporting learners or someone reflecting on your own growth, this toolkit is about giving you practical frameworks and language to make your action plans more meaningful and effective. By the end of this chapter, you'll be able to recognise a broad range of approaches to action planning, understand how to tailor an action plan to a supervisee's level of development, strengthen the skills and awareness that make action planning effective, reflect on what action planning means for you as a supervisor. And as we go through the slides, think about both your experience as a supervisor and as a supervisee. Before we dive into frameworks, let's take a moment to reflect. Think about an action plan you've seen or used that really worked. What made it effective? Was it clear, specific, achievable, or well aligned with learning needs? Good action plans are not about ticking boxes. They are about creating structured, purposeful learning journeys. Action plans are not one size fits all. The way we set goals and structure supervision should evolve as a supervisee gains experience. For example, a novice might need closer direction and very concrete steps. However, someone more experienced may need stretch goals that encourage autonomy, critical thinking, and leadership. That's where developmental models like Dreyfus become really useful. The Dreyfus model of skill acquisition helps us understand how learners move from novice to expert. At each stage, supervisees need something different from us, from structured step-by-step support at novice level to a more autonomous, reflective coaching at the expert end of the spectrum. Tailoring action plans to this developmental journey is one of the most powerful ways to ensure supervision remains meaningful. To make this real, we've included 5 example supervisees, each at different developmental stages. So Sarah is a new nurse practitioner who's starting to build confidence but needs support with clinical reasoning. Kamal, a clinical pharmacist who's largely independent but seeks feedback to grow. Idris, a physiotherapist who works at a highly expert level and supports others. Paul, a new PA who needs close supervision and reassurance. And Rena, a paramedic leading QI work and showing leadership behaviours. These examples will help you practice applying the model. Okay, so now it's your turn. Take a moment to place each supervisee on the Dreyfus scale, novice to expert. Once you've done that, consider what type of action plans would best support each one. For example, for Paul, a structured plan with clear supervision points might be key. For Rena or Idris, your role may shift towards coaching and peer level support. Okay, let's walk through these examples. So Paul needs frequent check-ins, clear protocols and safe spaces to ask questions. Sarah needs structure, but also encouragement to start trusting her clinical reasoning. Kamal is ready for developmental goals that stretch his scope and leadership. Rena is demonstrating system-level thinking. She may benefit from opportunities to mentor or lead projects. Idris may require a coaching style supervision, focusing more on reflection rather than instruction. Now notice how the action planning focus shifts from instruction to autonomy as the supervisee develops. Supporting experienced supervisees can be both rewarding and challenging. You might find your role shifts from teacher to coach, thought partner or challenger. These supervisees often benefit from being asked the right reflective questions rather than being given directives. So think, how can I stretch their learning edge rather than simply reviewing their work? When supervisees are more advanced, coaching skills become invaluable. This means asking open questions, encouraging self-assessment, and helping them identify their own learning goals. The Zimmerman and Martino self-regulated learning framework is particularly useful here. It describes how expert learners set their own goals, monitor their performance, and reflect to improve. Self-regulated learners are proactive. They don't just wait for feedback, they seek it. They reflect, plan, and adjust their practice. Our roles as supervisors is to create the right environment for this kind of learning, one that's psychologically safe, structured but flexible, and encourages curiosity and reflection. But really important, remembering role transitions. Even experts can move back down the Dreyfus scale when they transition into new roles or contexts. For example, a senior nurse moving into a leadership post may suddenly feel like a novice again. This is entirely normal, and it's why supervision and tailored action planning remain important throughout the clinician's career. So moving on from action planning for supervisees, action planning isn't just for supervisees. As supervisors, we also need to reflect on our own development. And one way to do this is to include supervision as a specific CPD PDP goal in your annual appraisal. This not only supports your growth, but also aligns with your PCN's annual self-assessment requirements. This slide shows an example of how your PDP can link directly into the PCN annual self-assessment. Reflections from your PDP can form part of your educator self-statement, supporting quality assurance and demonstrating your commitment to developing as a supervisor. It's also a great way to model reflective practice to your supervisees. And so finally, to wrap up on this chapter, we've explored how to tailor action plans to developmental stages using the Dreyfus model, how coaching approaches support increasingly independent supervisees, how action planning also supports your own growth as a supervisor. And finally, take a moment to reflect. What's one new thing you've learned today? What will you do differently in your supervision practice going forward? Remember, effective action planning is about clarity, structure, and supporting growth at every stage. Thank you.